Today we're going to talk about a movie called Lust, Caution. Lust, Caution, a movie made by the director Ang Lee. I consider it one of the great, most disappointing movies of the year, although it's a very interesting movie to see for a couple of reasons. It's really a double movie. Half of it, there's a story of a resistance thing, and then there's a very strange love story, if we call that. I'm surprised that it hasn't created more of a fuss, this love story, because this very nasty guy, he rapes her the first time, in a particularly savage and unpleasant way, and every time he sees her from then on, he really beats her up and thrashes her. And finally she says, "I love you." And that to me is a very curious thing.
We're in China, in Shanghai, in the late 30s, early 40s.
Please, excuse me.
Okay.
Let me just correct that. Let me second. This movie takes place in Shanghai in 1942.
Yeah, but it begins earlier.
I give up.
No, go ahead. Finish it.
The contemporary action of the movie takes place in 1942 in Shanghai, which is under Japanese occupation. This is not a political movie. The villain is a guy who was just collaborating with the Japanese for commercial gain. He's a bad business guy. And they're a happy-go-lucky bunch of college kids who get together this very far-fetched and complex plot I won't go into here, which involves this girl pretending to be the wife of somebody else to try to get close to this big bad guy.
To assassinate him, but they've never been able to get to him because he's so well guarded.
He's a brutal guy. He's Tony Leung, I believe you pronounce his name, who's played the same kind of part in those wonderful Carl Wai movies, In the Mood for Love, Chungking Express, and Room 2046. And I might say the girl, who's also wonderful in it, it's her first role in front of the camera ever in any movie at all.
She's absolutely brilliant, beautiful, brilliant, and she breaks your heart. Didn't she break your heart?
A little bit. The hero of this movie, in a way, one of the heroes, is the cinematographer. But Ang Lee, his movies generally are about a repressed or forbidden love. All of his movies, from Ice Storm on down, and particularly the movie Hulk.
I found it very, very sad. And can I tell you why? Yes. In our generation of going to movies in the 40s, the heroes were always the resistance. People who were fighting either the Nazis, and we always thought that the resistance were pure people. Here they're young, stupid, immature, right? She is supposed to sleep with this commandant, and since she is a virgin, they have one of the members of the resistance sleep with her so she'll know what to do. It is such a cruel thing to do to a young girl that I never recovered from it.
She goes in with her eyes open, and
no, she goes in because she's young and naive, and believes, believes in the let's all go fight the bad guys. But now there have been two movies, The Black Book, and the other was the Jean-Pierre Melville movie, where the resistance people are corrupt and use a woman to seduce.
That's not corrupt. I mean, if you're fighting for the life of a country, I mean, you sacrifice people. Ang Lee is a darling of the critics and of everybody. He's a very good director, but there's nobody to say, stop, enough.
He needed to think through the script. We've got to go back to the script, saying, maybe we don't need every scene. There are no shortcuts in this movie.
I hate to sound like an old person, but even before my time, I mean, a Selznick or Louis B. Mayer or somebody would have said, stop, enough. And Zanuck, these guys knew movies.
It's based on a short story, and I heard he's been wanting to make this movie for many years. They're trying to figure out what happened in China in the period after Sun Yat-sen and the Japanese invasion and the nationalists and then the communists who came in after the famous Long March. I think he's trying to figure out his parents' generation who were in China in that time, how did they behave?
I agree with Marcia, but everything she just said is what is not in the movie.
Yes.
And that's why it's a disappointing movie.
It's got an NC-17 rating, and which means that, people without their clothes on. I didn't find it particularly, what's the word?
Sensual.
Sensual, where you get turned on by it. I was so intrigued with watching the gymnastics part of it. I mean, how do they do it? You never see his penis, by the way.
But it's incredible you don't.
You don't.
It's incredible you don't. You think you do almost.
But you don't. I never saw it.
Did you look for it?
Got a lot of time there. The sexiest scene I ever saw in a movie was when Clark Gable carried Vivien Leigh up the stairs in Gone with the Wind. and she wakes up in the morning smiling. And if you were 14 years old or 15 years old or 16 years old, that's what it seemed. Getting back to your old idea of movies that women really want to be taken, not
Seduced.
Yes.
The scene with Julie Christie and Donald Sutherland in
Don't Look Back.
Don't Look Back. By legend, they actually were really doing it. They were having an affair at the time.
I forgot that was really good.
This movie is not sexy. It's not sensual. It really is like a sort of an illustrated sex manual. Maybe that's all right. But it's got nothing to do with two people. It really is just a man and a woman getting in strange positions and doing it. And the more he does it, why, the more she gets to like him. I mean, that's the moral of it. Maybe I'd say it's a great date movie.